set up on the laptop, please? All right, you need to, okay. All righty. Good. All right, good evening. The time is 6:03, and I'd like to call this meeting, the Finance Committee, to order on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. We do have a member who is remote, so I'm going to take a roll call for attendance. Michael Cowett here.
David Fuller here.
Marshall Meekins here.
Derek Belnitzer here.
All right, we have all four current members. I know this is not formally on our agenda, but we do still have 3 vacancies on this committee. If you are interested, please reach out to just about anybody associated with the town, and we will point you in the right direction. Our sole agenda item for tonight is a request to use the Finance Committee Reserve Fund for an unexpected expense. I'd like to invite whoever feels most confident and interested in presenting this request to us and to the public to approach. Keith Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Keith Hickey, I serve as your town administrator, and I'm not sure I'm the most competent person to present this, but I got lots of people around me who can fill in the blanks, so I'll be phoning friends occasionally if I need to. I'm here this evening in front of the Finance Committee to request a transfer of $22,000 from your reserve account to replace or to address one of the 3 furnaces that have that is no longer operating in the police department. What I've learned over the last week or so is the police department is heated and cooled by 3 separate furnaces that obviously heat and cool separate parts of the building. One of the furnaces that's just over 30 years old has stopped working. We've had a repair company come in, the same repair company that's been maintaining our furnaces across town for years, and they've said to us that the furnace cannot be, let me back up. Can it be fixed? It potentially could be fixed. It's not cost effective to fix. It's going to in all likelihood cause secondary issues that if we do try to fix it, there are part challenges to getting parts to this because it's 30 plus years old. And after receiving that information, our facilities manager, Rob Cuoco, worked with the vendor and did some of his own due diligence like he likes to do, and identified that the most cost-effective manner to provide heating and cooling to that third of the building is to install a mini split at the police department. The mini split would provide the heating and cooling that's necessary. We're estimating the cost to be just over $20,000. We're asking for $22,000 in case there's some unexpected expenses. We won't spend that money if there isn't. One thing that I'd like to make the FinCom aware of is that netting out of that $22,000 cost was an $8,000 energy credit that we received from the vendor, so the cost to do this mini split gross amount would have been about $30,000. To replace the furnace itself, the estimate that we have to replace the furnace is between $32,000 and $42,000. I don't have a hard copy, I don't believe, of a cost estimate to replace it, but that's what the vendor has indicated that the price range would be to replace that furnace. One of the other issues in replacing the furnace, and I may need Rob to help me out with this, is if we start removing and installing a new furnace, some of the ductwork that is also 30 plus years old could be disturbed and could be potentially damaged, increasing the cost of replacing the furnace with a new furnace. So as much as I think the 4 of us that are here tonight to provide you some support for this request, hates to come in front of you asking to spend money on a 30 plus year old building that we hope to be leaving in 5 to 10 years. We need to heat and air condition a third of that building for that time period. I considered a couple of alternative funding sources, being the departmental budgets of the police and the facilities department. The facilities department is where an expense like this or a repair like this would come from. He has $150,000-ish in his budget town-wide for maintenance and repairs for all town properties. Taking $22,000 of this would impact his ability to properly maintain the properties. And I would just remind the FinCom that last year, the facilities director asked for an additional $20,000 that was granted to him in a supplemental appropriation for some emergency repairs that was backed out of his fiscal '26 budget to be the, kind of the apples to apples moving forward. So my reasoning for bringing forward a request from the reserve account really was that we have a police budget and a facilities budget that was recently approved by the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and Town Meeting. Those funds, if everything goes according to plan, will be expended for the purposes they were appropriated for, and unless something unforeseen happens in those departments, we don't expect to have $22,000 in excess funds remaining at the end of the fiscal year. So my thought was it was most appropriate to come to the Finance Committee, ask for the $22,000 out of the only funds in the budget that aren't specifically appropriated for a purpose, knowing that this is going to impact our ability later in the year if, in fact, there's a need for additional reserve fund monies moving forward. So the four of us are here this evening: the Police Chief Brian Holmes, Facilities Director Rob Cuoco, and our Finance Director Kathleen Barrett. In case there's any questions anybody has, there's been emails going back and forth with questions. I've tried to answer those to the best of my ability. But we're happy to answer any questions or expand upon any of the questions that were already asked if you'd like us to.
All right, thank you very much. I know that, or I suspect a couple of the committee members are going to have some questions. Dave, can I start with you?
Oh,
Or do you want
ladies first.
to? Go ahead, Marcia.
I just want to clarify a couple of things you said.
Sure.
You mentioned there's $150,000 in the facilities budget currently for the maintenance of town buildings. Is that right?
That's correct.
But that if they were to appropriate or use 22,000 of their 150,000, it would potentially impact future projects. It could.
I don't want to mince words. There is $155,000 plus in known repairs and expenses that Rob would like to take care of, and I'm sure he could get up and give you a laundry list of things that we aren't going to be able to maintain this year because the $155,000 isn't enough.
But, okay.
Sure, absolutely.
But because this isn't on Rob's list for the $155,000 of known expenses, we are prohibited from using the $155,000 for this immediate expense. Is it-
Absolutely not. But
No, we're not.
No,
Okay,
not at
that
all.
was the
Nope.
one question
Nope,
I
not
had.
at all.
So that is a potential bucket.
Sure.
A funding bucket. Just
Sure.
wanted to clarify that. I also wanted to ask, the air conditioning system currently functions just fine.
No.
It doesn't.
So I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Well,
The air
because-
conditioning system in 1/3 of the building is not running, is not operating right now.
And why is that? Is that
Part of the
because
furnace.
it's part of the furnace? And what
Yes, ma'am.
part? I thought it was the heat exchanger that wasn't working.
The furnace
on the-
itself, which provides the energy to provide heat and air conditioning for 1/3 of the police department. is
I
not-
understand that. Like a furnace, I think of a furnace as like a car. And Rob, and if I'm wrong, just tell me you're just a stupid female analogy. And when I talk about a furnace, I'm thinking it's all the parts, the engine, the starter, the valves, the pistons, the soup to nuts. So when you tell me the furnace is not repairable, and then you listed all the things that were wrong with it, I mean, what part of those things that
So,
you listed?
let
You
me try
listed
to-
the heat exchanger. I just didn't see anything
Sure.
that
So-
involved the air conditioning.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into a tremendous amount of detail about what part's not working and what is. Let me use your analogy, and try to answer the question this way. You have a 30-year-old vehicle. The engine dies. you need to replace the engine. The engine is going to cost you some amount of money. We'll just say it's $22,000. The rest of the car is not in good shape. When you take the engine out, you may you may uncover that the frame is rotted. You may find that the drivetrain is having issues, and you're into this car now for several more $1,000s. Rather than that, you can go out and buy a newer vehicle or even a brand-new vehicle for roughly the same price, or even less in this case. We're suggesting to you that the parts that are in the furnace that cannot be replaced either can't be replaced or can't be replaced in a fiscally responsible manner.
I'm not asking you to replace, again, I hear you saying that. You conducted a walkthrough. I hear you saying that. I hear you saying that it's a 700 square foot area. I know I looked up online how much a furnace to heat 1,700 square feet would cost in today's dollars. But you said that there's an estimate from the vendor that it would not be cost effective to replace it. So I'm just looking for that cost estimate that I'm assuming includes, the observations that this vendor made during the walkthrough that lead to this scenario of inevitable other problems that could be associated with
I guess I'm not sure
replacing the
I'm not sure
furnace.
what you're looking for, so I
I'm just
apologize.
asking for the cost estimate.
The cost estimate's between $32,000 and $42,000.
Again, I'd like to see a breakdown of that.
The breakdown is 32 to 43. I don't have a breakdown for you.
Can you get us a breakdown? What's the unit?
Not tonight. So I'm asking.
I'm just
so
asking.
then I'm
That's
saying
a-
you can't tonight, so if you're not comfortable with the request and the justification we're making, vote no.
Excuse me?
I said, if you're not comfortable with the request.
I don't
that we're
want to
making-
vote no. I'm trying to do my due diligence.
And I appreciate that. I
And I don't want to jeopardize the public health and safety of the police officers.
Sure.
So I don't want to vote no. I want to do the right thing
I understand that, and so
that
do we.
protects everybody, the taxpayers, the police department.
Sure.
the
So
budget.
I'd like to introduce Rob Poco.
Thank
He's
you. I
our
met him outside.
facilities manager.
Do as good a job, but I can try to fill in some of
Thank
the
you.
blanks. So the things that you don't run into in your typical home are things like prevailing wage and certain other things that need to do, which automatically raise the price of these things. This is also a commercial building, not a residential building. And although sometimes there's some overlap, they're on the larger side or the smaller side. So definitely on the larger side of residential, if not the smaller side of commercial, which changes the price as well. There's also the demo removal and that kind of stuff. So I did not get a price on I got an estimate through my personal experience and through other vendors asking around, and as well as what we've tried to look at in the past for replacing heating and air conditioning units. And that was a very educated / experienced estimate. Now, I can go out and get you that it's going to be, I can guarantee you what it will be. It will be more than $20,000, and I would guarantee that as an absolute. You'd also, so the solution that we found takes the modern system of controls. We get to use money from the state grants and things like that to put towards that. That's the $8,000, leaving the $20,000. Let's just say you could get a new furnace for $20,000, right? What Keith was trying to say there was, if you do that, you are looking at what happens when we start touching 30-year-old, everything in that building is 30 years old and fragile. And so you start messing with piping and ductwork and how it plays with the other units and how, and you could be well above, if you could get it. I'm just say I could go out and I can get a quote for the same furnace, which I don't think you can, but like as a
I
hypothetical.
don't want the same furnace. I just want a furnace.
No, but what I'm saying is a
commercial-grade
mod-
furnace that
Right.
would heat and cool 1,700 square foot area of a commercial
And-
public building.
And
That's
as
all I
the,
want.
and as the person who is trying to be fiscally responsible, I will tell you, touching that system would be the wrong thing to do. Now, you could do anything, but as Keith said, like a car, the tires might work and the engine's dead, and you can push the car without the engine in it, but it's not necessarily the most economical way of doing it. Or you could put a different used engine in the car, whatever, or you could get a brand-new system. The other piece of that puzzle, too, is nothing says, I don't know what we're gonna do with that building in 5 years, but removing that system and moving it to another building could also be an option. They're not difficult to remove. They would all, it's not a furnace, so you could, I'm not sure if that's an actual fact, but there are
Yeah,
options
I
to
don't
move
think
that out of the building. The only thing splits haven't really changed a lot. Their communications on how they deal, like they're interactive, but the way they actually work hasn't really changed a lot. And so in 5 years, that system will be as good as it is now. It just might be something you use in a smaller room, like a conference room or something like that. But we could possibly talk if that building's gonna be demoed, or if it's not getting sold, or it's going into cold storage like the old fire station. There are options to move that system. It would not be the same kind of options to move the furnace out of that building. So there, and just so you know, we also applied for grant money and insurance money. We've exhausted a whole bunch of other avenues to get this paid for outside of standing in front of you guys and asking for this money. So it wasn't like we just decided one day, we would love to just take $22,000 of money that we know, is tight. But once again, we were denied by the insurance company after weeks' worth of work there. The grants aren't enough. We can't get to them now. We could probably get to them in the spring, early summer of next year, but by then, and there are two 30-year-old units in that building as well that we could try to get replaced through that grant money before that happens. So that might be an option too. It's just we are out of options at this point in time. And everything that we don't do today pushes out weeks, if not months, to getting that system up and running. So anything we decide to do today, there's a domino effect. So if I have to get other vendors, I have to get their schedules, make sure that they get in the building, wait a couple weeks before we get it, and as we move closer and closer to the winter, it just becomes a problem. So I hope I answered your questions.
You did kind of, but the one thing I asked about was the AC. The
So
AC is not currently
no,
working.
so it's limping along. So it wasn't working. We got it up and running like a Band-Aid. It could fit, it made it through the biggest part of the summer. But it was limping along. It could have died at any second. I mean, that's the reason why that's how they found it. AC stopped working. They went in, got the AC up and running, and then discovered this is, the
The heat
furnace is shot.
exchanger,
Right,
which
and if we
creates
turned the
the-
heat on in the winter, if they didn't find that, and we would have turned the heat on this winter, it would have filled the place up with CO2.
Right, I don't want
So that was the impetus to get them in there in the first place, was the AC stopped working. We did get it limping along enough to get it through the hottest couple of weeks, but I would be hesitant to turn it back on now and say it's working.
Because of the carbon monoxide risk?
No, because it's a 30-year-old system and the AC is shot.
Oh, the
too.
AC, I'm worried about the heat exchanger, the failure of the heat exchanger. Oh, if the
It's
furnace,
at the end of its life. I mean, it's rotted out, it's rusted out.
but if
it's
it were
corroded.
turned on, it would
It would fill the
create
building up with CO2 gas.
CO2, that's my concern.
And probably hurt
That's-
somebody.
That's
No,
really
not probably.
my
It would
over.
hurt somebody.
Yeah,
So-
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Marcia,
Thank you.
thank you. David, what do you got?
All right, Rob, rapid fire.
Sure, what do you got?
All right, so is this furnace original?
Yes, it is.
And the other two that are there are the same exact furnaces?
Same exact time period. I'm not sure if they're the same exact. I would imagine that they are. There might be a number off there. Honeywell, I can't remember the exact name, but they went in with the building, so they're all the same.
Any thought to putting a furnace in to replace the one that's unusable right now or has issues, and then using that as a donor to keep the other two when they start to falter? Because of the lack of parts, now you have a donor?
But you'd still be in the same situation where
Yeah, no,
you would have.
I'm projecting out when the other two fail.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to do that, you would still run into the same, we're touching a lot of stuff. So you're moving this, piece of equipment that's attached to stuff that's original to a building that is kind of touch and go on a good day. I mean, it's definitely cranky.
For the public, life expectancy on the mini splits?
I don't have that answer. I've seen them running for 10-plus years easily, maintained. I mean, we have one in the computer room that's running to keep the server room cool. I would say that's at least 5 to 7 years old.
Warranty, 1
2
year,
years.
1 or 2?
I believe it's 2, but I can, 1 year labor and material, I'm sorry. It's
Okay.
1 year.
On a new furnace, what would the warranty be?
Don't know, I didn't go that far down. I don't know. Once again, like I said, I'm just pointing out, even if the furnace is warranted, whatever it's connected to will probably not be warranted,
Yep, all right.
so.
So in your current budget, 155.9, we talked about, you have plans for that 155.9. I
There
guess,
are-
instead of, us sitting here like, I'm asking what salad dressing, and you've
Right.
got to list off Italian, Russian, all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
different
yeah.
things. If I say no to you tonight, what are you not going to be able to do? What is going to get pushed out a year?
So, that's a little harder to speak to, but I can tell you projects that we've been trying to get done. There are roofing issues, I have sidewalk issues, I have floor issues at the Reed, let's say, I have, the floor at the highway barn is starting to be salt eroded, I'd like to get that somewhat taken care of, but this is kind of a pieces, you fit these pieces in as you can, and so I can't go at the beginning of the year and say, okay, I have this project, because I'll blow through that budget. So I have to go through what we need to do, like that 5 to 7 and under project, I can take care of as they arise. The $22,000 project, I cannot. So if and a lot of that is us working as departments together, like I go to the police chief and I say, look, we have a $10,000 issue here, I can come up with 7, can you find me 2? And we work that out between us, or Sean at Highway, or the fire chief, or whatever. So those projects I can do. It's these bigger projects that take a chunk out all at one time. So if we go this route, I will probably be standing in front of you later in the year asking for money for regular maintenance that we would have normally gone through, like I said, sidewalks or whatever it is. And it could be anything. I mean, stuff breaks every day. I mean, toilets break, a couple $1,000s here, and it's all a matter of nickel and dimes, but they all add up to the 150-something thousand. So.
Remind me, what's our, what are you, 50?
60 this year.
60? Right. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I mean, here are just my thoughts on this. So, so thank you for the responses.
welcome.
So my thoughts on this, yeah, I kind of knew going into this, being a homeowner and dealing with some of these things in my lifetime, that, 1, commercial costs more, 2, we got the prevailing wage, 3, out of my own home, knowing that mini splits are a more economical option, and as long as they fit what we need them for, they make sense, right? So if we were gonna keep this building 30 years, I'd say, no, don't go mini splits, go put in the furnace. But we're trying to replace this building. Trying,
Been trying.
right? We're
15
trying,
years.
right, but it needs to get replaced. So will they hold out 5 or 10 when we try to replace this building? And I think mini splits will do that job. So yeah, it kind of is what it is. In a perfect world, though, I would, in the future, rather you just spend your money and then come to me later in the year when you're short. And I have all the other competing priorities of the town later in the year as well. And then I can kind of balance, which project needs to go, rather than blowing, a third of my reserves here second month in the year in a perfect world.
And I can appreciate that because I'm doing that in reverse.
Yeah.
I would rather come to you earlier than wait until I'm
So-
out of money.
One more comment, I think it's a little different than we've historically done it in the past. So I understand where Marcia's coming from. If you could have gotten a quote on the full repair, on the full new furnace, that would be preferable.
Okay.
I'm okay with not having it. I know it's gonna be more than the 20K. Also, I would in the future, just to throw it out there, I would like more than one bid in the future. So I'm sure you've worked with this vendor before, and maybe you've gone through multiple bids in the past, and the guys always come through and been kind of the better bid. But I'm just throwing it out there. I would like, as a homeowner myself, I'm doing my basement right now, right? Yes, I pulled a permit. I got 4 bids going right now, right? So I had an idea, But they're coming in all over the place, right? One's like my idea, but anyways, so I would like multiple bids, especially I would appreciate someone in town, a local business in town, a bid from them to try to keep business in town if we could. So those are the only comments I have.
All right, before I add anything, Derek, you're up if you'd like to be, or not.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my fellow committee members. They've addressed their questions, and I did reach out to Chief Holmes as well, just regarding, I think the same thing that everyone's thinking is this is a building and a building that we're looking to replace, and he was kind enough to get back to me too. So nothing from me. I will, however, take recommendations on getting an infant who is teething to stop crying.
Jack Daniels.
But otherwise, nothing from me.
Okay. All right, so at this point, it seems to me, I think, that there is agreement that this certainly needs to be done, and I think we're all aware, obviously, we live in Massachusetts, and we may not be as far as any of us might like to be before this becomes a real salient issue in an unpleasant way. I think in general agree with you, Dave, about spending what we've budgeted and dealing with problems later. I think, to me, this falls into the exception of preventative stuff, because I think particularly this year with how little margin for error it seems like we're likely to have, I'd rather get stuff taken care of now, and I do not want to be in a position where we put ourselves in bad shape because we're not doing preventative stuff that ends up tripling in cost later on.
Yeah.
That's what I really don't want to be doing. And this, to say nothing of insurance issues, legal liability issues, all sorts of nonsense that I could see arising from this.
We may be hitting this right at the right time and maybe
Yeah.
saving ourselves a little money because the AC business is drying
Yep.
up
Yep.
and we haven't hit the winter for the
Exactly.
heating business. So this may be a
And
decent time
yeah,
that this
to-
happened,
To the
actually.
same point, yeah, I mean, you've got, sure, more vendors, more bids, competition, all great, but if it comes at the cost of, we're trying to do this in December when it's 7 outside, that's gonna cause us some problems. I would accept a motion, I can make it too, but I would accept a motion, if nothing else for discussion purposes, to get something on the table here, and then we can maybe try to lay cards on the table and go from there. Do you wanna?
Could I just,
Yeah.
before we second your, which will be seconded, you excluded items in the estimate. Are they big ticket items? Line voltage wiring,
Correct.
are they, how much? Do
So
you know?
that's the extra $2,000 we were
That's
talking.
the extra $2,000.
Correct. I don't know what that looks like when it's in there, but anything that comes above and beyond that, if it's above that $2,000, I'm assuming that facilities will be able to absorb that cost. So that would be in that $3,000 to $5,000 range, that if it did come above that, we wouldn't need FinCom. I could take that out of the facilities budget. So it's not like, I'm walking in asking for everything with a pin in it. I'm assuming that the voltage wiring is fine, or we can work what's there. If something comes up, I can absorb, facilities will absorb out of that 150, the rest of it, so.
Okay.
So at any other potential stuff.
Can I also, this is maybe a question for either Keith or Kathleen. If this, we're looking for 22,000, if it comes in between the 20 and 22,000, what happens to the differential? Does it just go back into the reserve fund?
So we're not going to take anything out of the reserve fund until we actually have the bill. So if it comes in at $21,000, that's the amount of money that will be transferred from the reserve.
This is a maximum, in other words?
Yeah, we're looking for a little bit of
Yeah.
wiggle room for contingency in cases of need.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion? Do you want me to make a motion? We can do this either way. Anybody?
You can.
All right. I'm going to move, and again, just to be clear, for discussion purposes, we'll have a discussion period once it's moved and seconded. I'm going to move that the Finance Committee vote in favor of the request to use the Finance Committee's reserve fund for the unexpected expense related to the furnace at the police station up to the amount of $22,000.
I second it.
Okay. I made the motion, been seconded by Marcia. Any further discussion? again, from my perspective, I certainly understand and appreciate both the due diligence and the concerns about how this happened. I think we're in a position that we maybe rather would not be in, but I think most of the other ones are gonna be worse. So, David?
And from my perspective, it's because, it's because of the potential for life safety. I mean, I don't want anybody to die of heat, I mean, of being too cold, or because our furnace fails. That's the reason that I agree with David. In the future, I'd like more than one estimate. I'd like a little bit more information.
All right.
I'd just like to second that from a discussion standpoint. Is I think I know committee members that additional estimates, especially given the situation of the town budget, would be highly beneficial for us.
Yeah, agreed. All right, all those in favor, David?
David, aye.
Marsh.
Marcia, aye.
Derek?
Derek, I.
Michael, aye. It's a 4-0-0 vote.
I just want to say thank you for the special meeting and your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you to you, to Rob, to everybody else who is out here this evening. In the interest of time, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn the September 2nd Finance Committee meeting
I
at
second that.
6:34 PM. It's been moved and seconded. Michael, aye.
David, aye.
Marcia, aye.
Derek, I.
4-0-0. Have a great night.